Can't stand the word empathy, actually. I think empathy is a made-up New Age term that does a lot of damage.
I think it's worth it. I think it's worth to have a cost of, unfortunately, some gun deaths every single year.
I think we should have less gun laws, not more. I know people disagree with this.
Why is the Republican Party, why is the conservative movement to blame for gay schizophrenic nudists that are hemp jewelry makers breaking into somebody's home, or maybe not breaking into somebody's home? Why are we to blame for that exactly? And why is he still in jail? Why has he not been bailed out? By the way, if some amazing patriot out there in San Francisco or the Bay Area wants to really be a midterm hero, someone should go and bail this guy out. I bet his bail's like $30,000 or $40,000. Bail him out and then go ask him some questions.
We note in our piece that Kirk describes King as, quote, a bad guy. It's true. And Kirk's self-described very, very radical view that the country made a mistake when it passed the Civil Rights Act. Also true. Now, again, apparently they don't listen to the show because we do that at least once a week, right? Once a week we talk about why the Civil Rights Act was a mistake. And the Civil Rights Act, though, let's be clear, created a beast, and that beast has now turned into an anti-white weapon.
Where MLK, in my personal opinion and based on every objective analysis, he actually gave us more race focus and less emphasis on character and conduct. Because here we are 60 years later. Do we talk about race less or more in the last couple of decades? I'm not only blaming MLK for this, but his core driving philosophy was not about a colorblind society. That is a line in one of his speeches. He would actually be closer to a race Marxist, almost akin to a DEI type philosopher if you go deep into his writings, especially later in his life. Yes, I mean, Martin Luther King, happy to go into it, very troubled past, well-known race, all that sort of stuff, right? So maybe the NAACP should stop trying to keep on ginning up this mythology of racism in the country and go after some of the core issues of what's been driving this country and Black America towards worse and worse socioeconomic results.
Like, I'm sorry, if I see a black pilot, I'm going to be like, boy, I hope he's qualified.
When blacks in America did not have the same rights they had today, they were less murderous, there was less break-ins. Why is that? And the data shows they were actually better in the 1940s. It was bad, it was evil, but what happens?
A certain skin color now gets their own summertime celebration. Oh, wow, look how far blacks have come. It has now become a racial complaining day. Remember what BLM stands for: burn, loot, and murder.
DEI stands for
one of the biggest.
Didn't earn it, just so we're clear.
Can we also acknowledge, due to the laws under Jim Crow, that Black people were significantly hindered from economic advancement?
This is a really important question. The data shows not really, but Black Americans are poorer today in 2024 than they were in the 1950s. The disappearance of the Black father has been the #1 driver of Black poverty in this country. Can we at least agree that Black dads not being around is a bad thing?
Anyone's father not being around is a bad thing. Starting in the 1980s and continuing onward, there's been a war on drugs. Is this correct?
I like the war on drugs. Blacks commit more crimes than whites do. They commit more murders, they commit more arsons, they commit more kidnappings. That's not a war on drugs, that's a culture problem. Why are so many blacks committing murders outside of their population? So we've spent $20 trillion on uplifting Black communities, $20 trillion, and Black Americans are poor.
What is being
stamps,
asked?
Subsidized housing, Medicaid, public schooling, subsidized college. We're talking about $20 trillion that has been spent on the Great Society, and yet Black America is poorer, more murderous, more dangerous.
Part of equity
what does equity mean?
is
you mean taking from other people?
Now, were they trying to hijack her? Were these blacks trying to go rob her? Happening all the time in urban America. Prowling blacks go around for fun to go target white people. That's a fact. It's happening more and more.
Joy Reid and Michelle Obama and Sheila Jackson Lee and Ketanji Brown Jackson were affirmative action picks, we would have been called the racist. But now they're coming out and they're saying it for us. They're coming out and they're saying, I'm only here because of affirmative action. Yeah, we know. You do not have the brain processing power to otherwise be taken really seriously. You had to go steal a white person's slot to go be taken somewhat seriously. Play cut 52.
But I rise today as a clear recipient of affirmative action, and particularly in higher education. I may have been admitted on affirmative action, both in terms of being a woman and a woman of color. but I can declare that I did not graduate on affirmative action. This is my personal story.
I hear because of action affirmative. She can't even say that. We know. It's very obvious to us that you were not smart enough to be able to get in on your own.
I saw a clip somewhere that you were trying to get the officer who murdered George Floyd pardoned, and I just want to know what your reasoning was about that.
Well, George Floyd didn't die because of the police officer. He died largely because of a drug overdose.
But he had his knee on his neck. And we all saw the video.
But the knee on the neck is actually an approved police technique that police departments taught Derek Chauvin to use. Do you know that George Floyd was saying, "I couldn't breathe," well before that restraining technique? And
so why'd they use the technique if he already couldn't breathe?
Well, because he was actually resisting arrest. According to the medical examiner, he was drug overdosing in real time. That it wasn't because of the police officer, Derek Chauvin, that put his knee on the neck. Our whole country blew up because of this incident, and it was largely based on a lie. We were all
what was the lie?
The lie is that there was a white police officer that went after a black person just because he was black, and it just wasn't true.
Yeah, but he killed him. Like, that doesn't...
Well, the county medical examiner disagrees.
So then why did he get sentenced?
Exactly.
Like,
that's a good
no,
question.
I'm saying...
It's because it was largely a show trial where actually they were not allowed to submit
what
evidence.
Trial?
A show trial. A show trial is an example where you put people on display or a show for a political purpose or political means. And this is an example of that. Derek Chauvin was not given a fair hearing in this trial. This is the great replacement theory. Remember we talked about they want to replace white Anglo-Saxon Christian Protestants with Mexican Nicaraguans, with El Salvadorians. You have seen the result of the great replacement. In California, 1 in 4 people have been born outside of the U.S. Let me say that again. 1 in 4 people in California have been born outside the U.S. You can see the white population collapse in L.A. That's intentional. They've wanted it that way. And if you do not assimilate, and if you are an agent of disorder, of chaos and confusion, adios, hasta la vista, baby. We will find you and your family, and we will return you. All 20, 25, 30 million. Every single one of you are going back. And Jewish donors, they have a lot of explaining to do, a lot of decoupling to do, because Jewish donors have been the number one funding mechanism of radical, open border, neoliberal, quasi-Marxist policies, cultural institutions, and nonprofits. This is a beast created by secular Jews. And now it's coming for Jews, and they're like, what on earth happened? And it's not just the colleges. It's the nonprofits, it's the movies, it's Hollywood, it's all of it. And Jews have been some of the largest funders of cultural Marxist ideas and supporters of those ideas over the last 30 or 40 years. But the first part is absolutely true. Let's go to this. Jewish communities have been pushing the exact kind of hatred against whites that they claim to want people to stop using against them. Now, I don't like generalizations. Not every Jewish person believes that. But it is true, the Anti-Defamation League was part and parcel with Black Lives Matter. It is true that some of the largest financiers of left-wing, anti-white causes have been Jewish Americans. They went all in on woke, and it wasn't just ADL. It was some of the top Jewish organizations in the country that have done that. In fact, we have seen this with the recent retreat of Jewish donations that are no longer going to be administered to colleges, right? Mark Rowan, Leon Kopperman. Can we get that full list? It's very powerful. The part of the so that's totally true. And by the way, Tucker Carlson reinforces this. So I'm going to it was quite a day on the internet. Tucker Carlson was interviewing Candace Owens. We have Candace Owens coming up next hour. And Tucker Carlson mentions that Jewish Americans have primarily been financing cultural Marxist ideas. We said this, by the way, last week, and people came after us. But we actually said it in a different way. We said, I'm glad that Jewish Americans are reconsidering their financing of cultural Marxism. And people misunderstood it intentionally and slandered us as being anti-Semites. But listen to this. Tucker Carlson is completely correct by saying this, that the philosophical foundation of anti-whiteness has been largely financed by Jewish donors in the country. In fact, I even think that we should bring back, public executions on certain people. No, but think about it. I think that, and you guys should laugh, but it should be done. You guys should laugh. But think about it. Some of these crimes are so heinous against humanity that it must be done as a statement and not say that, we're gonna make you a sympathy. So for example, I think that Luigi Maggioni guy, I think he should get the death penalty. I think that if you're going to go kill someone in the back of the head in the streets of New York and act as if I should be sympathetic because you didn't get a health care premium you didn't like, I think you should get the death penalty for that. I think if you take a life, your life should be taken, and it should be done, obviously, through a jury of the peers.
Okay. So if you had a daughter and she was 10 and she got raped, and she was going to give birth and she would, and she was going to give birth and she was going to live. Would you want her to go through that and carry her baby?
That's awfully graphic.
But it's a real life scenario that happens to many people.
The answer is yes, the baby would be delivered.
Oh, okay, great. So that's insane.
The point is that it's so materially insane to think that 1 in 5 American women will be raped in their life.
It is, I agree.
No, meaning that they're lying about being raped, that they're lying about being sexually assaulted.
You believe that people lie about being this feeds into what I was.
More young women need to get married at a younger age and start having kids. Like, reject the siren song of modernity and have lots of kids. Like, being a partner at a local law firm actually isn't that big of a deal. Having 3 kids is a really big deal.
I'm Addie, and I'm 14. I'm a freshman in high school, and I was wondering, as someone who has a different opinion on college, what would you say the pros and cons are? Because I'm interested in political journalism, and what would your advice be?
I think there is an argument to bring back the MRS degree, and no, seriously, and just be clear. That's why you're going to college, right? Don't lie to yourself. I'm studying sociology. No, you're not. We know why you're here. And that's okay, actually. And that's a really good reason to go to college, actually, especially an SEC school. Like, you will find a husband. We should bring back the celebration of the MRS degree. Say college is a scam, but if you're going to find your life partner, that's actually a really good reason.
What is the national identity of Palestine? Educate me.
Palestinians.
What is that?
Like, what do you mean? What is that?
Yeah, what ethnicity are they?
Arabs?
Okay, so all Arabs are Palestinians?
No, but they are Arabs? What you trying to say? What is your point?
I'm trying to say, because at what point does somebody become a Palestinian?
When he was born in Palestine, or if his parents are Palestinians?
Again, this is why we're talking past each other.
What you trying to say?
I don't think the place exists.
What?
Because it doesn't. It's called Judea and Samaria. It's not called Palestine.
You don't believe that Palestine have the right to exist?
No, everyone has a right to exist. Show me where it is. It's a non-existent place.
Okay, yeah, I don't think we're gonna.
That's why we're on different planets, right?